Excellent. Good evening and welcome. I am Dr. S.K. Choi, founder and mother of Oasis Place, your host tonight. Thank you for joining our Unscrabble the Puzzle 2020. This marks the 6th annual event, pioneered since 2015 to host medical practitioners from public and private sector as part of Oasis Place DNA to connect with every tier of stakeholders serving the autism and learning different community. I like a special mention to pediatrician Dr. Koo Boon Hock, my mentor, who suggested we work the opportunity of this new normal of online accessibility to present this webinar to a larger audience. This Jekyll and Hyde of the pandemic coined for us tonight's topic, digital invasion wired at Covid-19 pandemic. In addition to our guests on Zoom, we welcome the netizens live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Do post your state or country's flag to let us know where you are this evening. Warm selamat malam to our registered guests and doctors joining us from Sarawak, Singapore, Indonesia. We welcome parents, educators, and perhaps even individuals themselves facing conundrum of screen time invasion. So good to be able to meet familiar and highly regarded collaborators and friends, new and old. Allow me now a short session of introducing and updating also our guest Oasis Place to all of you. I'm just trying to change the slide. There's just some delay. Here we go. That's me, who I've just introduced. So as we wait for the slide, if I could just remind all to mute your mics through the duration of the session, and feel free to use your mic, your chat box to say hello and to note your questions. I'd like to just let everybody know the session is formally recorded. And we're just having some slow change of slides here. Excuse me. Okay. Let's see how we can move the slides forward. Okay, maybe I can get some technical help here. Excuse us. Here we go. Thank you, Melissa. As the world of technology is always the technology that doesn't work, people always work. So let me take my chance to introduce Oasis Place. We are a multidiscipline intervention center offering assessments and therapy on-site at our site, off-site at schools, homes, and of course now online through Oasis Place Connect. Our services with a team of clinical psychologists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, music therapists really serves our children from toddlers right up to adults. And for us to support them, our desire is to support them through transitions through all stages of life. We anchor ourselves on our 3 R's of restoring the neuroplasticity of the brain using developmental approaches. And we constantly believe in refreshing our knowledge, our skill to serve our families, not just us, but together, all to put together the relationships that are within all of us. Through this pandemic, we have been also urged forward. We launched Oasis Connect, our new platform, so that we can be here for our clients anywhere, anytime. And now we have this wonderful logo that serves us too. I just want to take an opportunity to spotlight to our regular users and also to new ones. This is actually from our website. We are very pleased taking feedback from many of you. This new website, please do visit it, oasisplace.com.my. Has got a lot more information for individuals with learning differences themselves, parents, educators. And one of the features that we have put in is a referral by the health professionals to a client. You'll see that button, and also to enable us to be more interactive, to speak to us by clicking that button. This is the referral form that I've mentioned to make it much easier for professionals to reach us, whether to upload their own referral or to fill our format or form. One aspect I'd like to highlight to families and all our users is the free screening tools that we have loaded. There are plenty of resources for individuals and parents, whether they're video or articles. And this free screening really that has been compiled by the team, referencing all the evidence-based materials from ASD, ADD, the specific learning in dyslexia, even mental health issues with depression, anxiety scale, right through to speech milestones. So please do visit it. This is really our learning pointer. It has been my real private pleasure that continuous education must be part of our intervention. It has set Oasis apart and to serve you as well. Do click on it time and again on the website, or they are now, of course, linked to our Facebook and Instagram media. Let me tell you a little bit about our activity throughout this 9 months, this pandemic. We were just reflecting how really 18th of March was our first restricted movement order. And after the week of preparation and trying to figure out what does this mean to the whole nation and ourselves, we were very fortunate to kick off not only our Oasis Place Connect to serve on the digital platform, and what more, it was coming to April, Autism Month, and the team got together and did what we know well and best, is to do it in a multidisciplinary way, to do free screenings. It was very well received. It gave us a huge encouragement to continue, and repeated that even with sessions in Mandarin, and we were able to reach not only, of course, with online, we were able really to reach families in Labuan, in Malacca, in Penang, really across our nation. Again, I'm very grateful and proud to the Oasis team and our clients who believe and trusted us. One of the first few things we did was to use online to encourage movement, to provide a space for mental wellness discussions. Our music therapists came along to do family sessions with mom, dads, calling sisters and grandparents. And this wellness is now a constant thought and mental wellness, rather, in our minds. The team pushed forth and during the World Mental Health Day launched the Kindness Matters, which I believe will become one more annual event that we will want to use to serve all individuals, diversing it into parents with parent circles and programs that covers our children right up through our youth and our adults. As you all may know, one of our regular activities that we are very passionate about and we love to conduct is social communication using Michelle Garcia Winner's social thinking. And with this, through this pandemic, we have endeavored to have both the hybrid of still doing camps, one-on-ones or group sessions within the allowed COVID physical distancing cares, both to do the hybrid of on-site and also doing them online together with our other language camps, for example, in this instance. Online gave us a lot of opportunities. We had even our international speakers came on board, and with the collaboration, I'm very grateful for all the allied health associations that collaborated with us, supported the learning, onboarded the professionals as well, with PASIMA, the MSCP, MASH, MOTA, even the Lembaga Counselor, and also Special Education Network. We are indeed very proud, another one of our annual events where there were opportunities for being on site. We managed to continue with our boot camp for the adults, with this inclusion camp, and always with community partners, and this time with UCSI WhatsApp friendship team from the university. I just want to quickly now just say, connect with us. We are online, we are in person on site. Do visit our new Facebook and do give us feedback, which we will very much welcome. Thank you for listening to the updates, and if it's also new for you. I'm sure we are all very excited to come and join this session from the title itself, I believe. Let me take this time to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Sim. Now, according to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, what we call CDC, the report this year is 2 in 5 adults surveyed said they have at least one adverse mental health or behavioral health condition. Dr. Sim's presentation will reveal some Malaysian data for us. Educators and parents are alerted of Zoom fatigue. Employers are increasingly offering mental health care in addition to medical, dental, and visual benefits now. The impact of digital use is pandemic and pan-generation. We have the privilege to have Dr. Sim Suting's time tonight to present the topic of screen time addiction and how to break the trance. Dr. Sim is a psychiatrist practicing in A.H. Lee Specialist Clinic in PJ, Malaysia. Dr. Sim is a consultant psychiatrist registered with the Malaysian Medical Council and, of course, under the NSR. She obtained her MBBS from University of Malaya in 2009 and doctor in psychiatry from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia. Currently, she is also an very active member of the International Society of Internet Addiction and the Malaysia Society of Internet Addiction. She has been actively involved in research regarding digital health amongst youth. And quoting an investor in mental health app, Roger Lee says, when the book of social media is written, people will realize this was this generation's tobacco. So let's now hear intently and welcome Dr. Sim Suting. Welcome, Dr. Sim.
Hello, Dr. Choi. Yeah, thank you for the kind introductions, and thank you, Oasis Space, for inviting me to share about screen time addictions, how to break the trance. This topic is quite relevant nowadays. As you can see, because of the pandemic, everything has moved online. In fact, all internets have pushed most of the things forward, including the educations, all the works. Whenever the employees that work from home, everybody have pushed our lives online, almost virtually. It used to say online world is a virtual life, but as you can see now, it's no more virtual. In fact, it's a very real thing nowadays, including like even the infants or younger children are going to move things online. Their life is all evolved around internet nowadays. So thank you for giving, but of course, giving us the pros, there's also a lot of cons that it comes with it. So I will go through both the pros and cons about screen time, and mainly is how we can make full use of screen time by minimizing all the cons. So thank you again for giving me this chance to share the topic. So we welcome any questions at the end of the sessions. So let me share the screens about our slides. So what are we going to cover today is about usually the topics that we're going to cover tonight will be screen time among children, mainly sleep quality and technology use nowadays, and what are the psychological issues, include some of the physical issues involved that is associated with the technology use, and how to use the technology wisely, and when to seek help if there is the problems or issues arise from technology use. So let's go into what are the children, normal children, typically developmental children, or even non-typically developing children, what they use the smart media for. Before I go into the actual screen time or technology use, there is a lot of names for this kind of technology use nowadays. You can call it a digital use, you can call it a screen time use, you can call it a smartphone addiction, internet addiction. There are so many names involved, but I'm using smart media use still because it's more official among the international standards. And of course, but as the topic suggested, screen time is also more appropriate because anything doing with the technology use is more of the screen, be it the tablet, be it the smartphones or TVs, all involve screen. So that's why we are talking about screen time addictions tonight. So what are things that children use the technology for? What they use the screen for mainly for infants. Infants by definitions means less than 1 year old. So they mainly use it for videos and what are the education cartoons, educational programs and all that. Less than 1 year old, usually they use it for shows. That's all. Entertainment. Maybe some of them might even use phones for music. And of course, video chats nowadays, which because of the pandemic, everybody is not seeing probably the loved one very often. They are separated because of certain reasons, so they have to use the video communications options. Okay, so toddler means more than 1 year old. Also, again, they are using it for TV program. That is most common, and of course, it involves mobile games as well. A lot of people will believe if they play some of the games, they actually can improve their speech development, the visual motor coordinations, and right brain developments and flashcards, and so on and so on. I will go deeper into that. And school-going children now, other than for entertainment purposes like TV shows, movies, games, but they also now involve social media. Last time it used to say it's only for school assignments, but because of the pandemic, everything has moved online. Most of the children are now having a gadgets all by themselves for online education purposes. Okay, so the school have moved the online classes going on. So according to the studies done by Field Research Center, this study was done in 2018. Most of the youngsters, means the young adults, the teenagers of this study was done in US. So they actually use what are things that they use the technology for. Most of them had used it for YouTube, which is also true for younger children. Uh, Other than YouTube are all social media, which include Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, and of course, there are very minority of them say they have used none of the above. And what are the things that use the most often? It's actually Snapchat in US. That was in 2018. But in Malaysia, definitely they will tell you probably it's Facebook among this age group. So let's look at the figures from Malaysia itself. This is a figure from MCMC, so this is for local, and this is for general population, which include all age group, from not just the young adults. Again, the apps that is used most often is actually for communication purposes. For the communications by text, including SMS, but the most common nowadays is either WhatsApp or WeChat. Of course, there are other modes like telegrams and also lines and all that, but those are a little less than that. Followed by what other apps that use the most is visit social networking websites. And in terms of Malaysia, we are talking about Facebook. Then only followed by other purposes. This is quite similar to the US data that I showed just now. Okay, so when they use so much of technologies and screen time, a lot of people will ask how to differentiate between normal usage or is it considered excessive usage. A lot of parents will come to us and ask, doctor, you see he's using the phones all day, but we don't know, I think he's addicted, but how do we differentiate that? This is very fine lines because we don't have an actual guidelines saying what is excessive, what is still within normal range. So for us, we will go through a lot of assessment and all that. But there is a guideline by American Associations of Pediatrics, the AAP. They actually came out with this guideline for children. They recommended, it's just a guideline anyway. So there's the recommendations of that is if the child is less than 18 months old, then we limit the screen use to only video chatting. Other than that, it's better not to use for any purposes, not for entertainment purposes or educational purposes. It's recommended not to use, to involve them in screen. So less than 18 months, we do use screen only for video chatting purposes. For between 18 to 20 months of age, we limit the amount of high quality device use. What do you mean by high quality device use? Normally is we say you have to co-view with parents and report in the real world that can be educational. But excess screen use displaces much needed talk and play time. So this is the main purpose. Try to limit the amounts of it. And for children that ages 2 to 5 years old, we will recommend not more than 1 hour of use. And this 1 hour is also recommended to be a high quality device use, against to use it together with parents. It's not like asking the technology to, asking the TV or your iPads or your phone to babysit the children, okay? So this is another study showing the young adults use in how much do they use phone in or internet among Malaysia. This study was done among the public universities in Klang Valley area. It was done between among the students who aged from 18 to 24 years old. I did this study in back in 2017. So it shows that the phone's use durations among them, be it the smartphones or any kind of phones, is more than 7 hours a day, close to 8 hours a day. And for internet use, sometimes they use it offline, sometimes they use it online. But those who use it online, is most of them are using it more than 5 hours a day on average. And their sleep durations, the recommended sleep for this age group supposed to be at least 6 to 9 hours, but most of them are only sleeping around 6 hours. So they actually use the phone more than they sleep, the durations of that use. So let's talk about how the screen time can affect physical health, okay? So we are emphasizing a lot on children tonight. So I'm going to talk about the normal development children. They have to have they have to achieve certain milestones like the gross motor, sensory, fine motor interactions. But if you have excessive screen use, then it can affect all these areas. Because screen use, a lot of people, just now, if you can remember my first few slides, it says that a lot of educational games or applications on the gadget nowadays, they claim that they could help to develop their speech, their gross motor, their sensory and fine motor, all this. But how true is that? If you look at iPad, is the easiest gadgets to use, or any phones, iPad tablets, any kind of tablets, is only using your index fingers to actually swipe or tap on it. So how do you actually develop fine motor on this movement? And if you use it for YouTube or just for shows, TV shows and all that, it's always one-way interactions. There is very less of two-way interactions, just like the real play among the parents and the children. So you have lack of social interactions, you lack of the bondings, parental bondings, you lack of the fine motor developments. If you play certain toys that require you to manipulate, to maneuver the small little fine like Lego, that kind of toys, then you only use iPad to replace it. How are you going to develop this area of development? Again, sensory. Sensory is the most important things, that you expose them to the nature with all kinds of textures around, so that they can experience more experience different sensations for sensory development. So another risk of it, physical health, is the eye. The eye is the first things that come into contact with the screen. The screens has a lot of blue light emissions, if you have heard it before. A lot of times, if you expose yourself too much on it, like for those children who go to online classes nowadays, sometimes the classes can go up to 4 to 6 hours a day. By the recommendations, is not more than 2 hours a day for those children less than 6 years old or 10 years old. It's recommended not more than 2 hours a day. But nowadays, sometimes we have no choice because of the pandemic. You have to move things online, so you are using the screen more than 4 hours a day. You can have you notice the children will have problems with the eyes. They will have dry eyes. They keep blinking. The strains on the eyes and cause the exhaustion of the eyes. They cause tiredness. They feel tired. They're blinking. They are doing a lot of facial kind of grimacing. So all these are one of the symptoms. And when you focus on the screen, for example, when you're playing games, you focus too much on the screen, your eyes forgot to blink. So normally we blink quite often. When you forgot to blink, you can cause dry eye, because while you blink, you actually moisturize the eyes. So dry eye symptoms cause redness, irritations. Sometimes when it's more severe, it can cause blurred visions. And in long terms, actually, you will have a lot of reflective errors of the reflective problems of the eyes, like myopia and all that. And the next things, this is the symptoms that I just mentioned: eye fatigue, itchy eye, dryness, blurred visions. Sometimes also have double visions for strainers eyes. And because you tense your eye, strain your eye too much, it can also give you headaches. So how does all this screen affect sleep? As I mentioned just now, we have talked about blue light emissions from the gadgets, from the devices. So all these blue lights can also affect our sleep. Technologies used in the evening, especially in the evenings after the sunset, it may delay the bedtime and interfere with our sleep. And using a bright screen for 1 hour, 1.5 hours or more can increase the alertness. You don't feel sleepiness. You don't feel like sleeping. Not everyone is affected in the same way, having said so. Some forms of technology used and its activity may be better than others. And in the evening, if we use technology in moderation, we're supposed to switch from interactive devices to more passive devices, so that it won't be so stimulating and increase your alertness. How blue light affects our sleep is because in bright light during daytime, our brains actually makes melatonin. But in the darkness, we don't produce melatonin during daytime, because when the sun stimulates our eyes, our brain will sense that, okay, it's daytime. We have to reduce the melatonin so that you can work, so that you don't need to fall asleep. But when the sun sets, your eyes don't sense that there is any sunlight, then your brain will produce a lot of melatonin to make you sleep better, to improve your quality of sleep. But when you are using screen at night after the sunset, the little devices, the blue light emissions from the devices is like a little sun that you carry all along with you. So when you have this little sun that stimulates your eyes, so your brain will thought that this is still daytime. And that's why they will suppress the melatonin excretions and cause that you have poor sleep quality, or sometimes increase your alertness or delay your sleep. Okay, this is how the blue light emissions can affect our sleep. Another problem with the screen, too much of screen, is that you might get the tech snack syndrome. If you notice children, when they are having the phones or iPad, especially iPad or the tablet, not just iPad, any tablet, if they hold it in their hands and it's too heavy, it will go down and down and down and down. So all this will affect the posture and cause the tech neck syndrome. Is the postures will have you pose a lot of strains and cause stiffness of the neck as well as the shoulder. Even for adults or for grown-ups, you will feel there's a stiffness and it might cause spasms of the muscle and you will have pain as well. So how too much screen time can affect children? Other areas are, one of it is psychosocial risk. There is lack of social interactions and engagement with families and peers. They immerse too much in the screen, so they don't tend to socialize anymore. Language delay is because it's only a one-way interaction, especially if you watch YouTube shows or whatever shows that you watch TV. There's no interactions. Basically, the child is just sitting there and watch TV. They might pick up a lot of vocabulary, they might pick up a lot of languages and speech, but they don't have anyone to practice. They won't answer back. Sometimes they will parrot the whatever things that is shown on the TV, but they might not use in appropriate social context as well. So you might notice the children who have a lot of screen time, they will have this speech developmental delay. They might have less babbling. They have sometimes they have significant expressive and receptive language delays among themselves. Now, one is the impediments with the life skills. Children are experiencing an inability to tie shoes. All this, the fine motor developments will be affected, and they can't build blocks and because exposed too much of screen time. They don't have, they don't spend time with their toys anymore. Physical health is like obesity because they don't have enough physical activities and increase the risk of diabetes. Advertising concerns on TV, there are food-related advertisements that lead to more snacking and higher rates of being overweight in young children, especially those who we call as potato couch. They will snack at the same time while watching TV or playing games. And poor sleep quality, we have already discussed this before, is most probably due to the blue light emissions. And sometimes if the contents of the shows or contents of the games are too stimulating, and if they use it just before bedtime, it also can increase the alertness. So we have done another study. This is another study done in UKM. This is actually a studying between the associations of brain activations by using functional MRIs together with gamings. So this was done in 2018 with the radiologist trainee. So MMORPG video games is actually a series of video games. It's just it's a series of video games that we have different video games that we expose to the study samples. So we found that this video games consists of all kinds of video games, including RPG games or whether it's the puzzle games or arcade games. It's a series of games, and we found that it tends to activate more brain regions compared to the default modes of the not the video games. We study between the samples and the control. Normally, how does the brain works, and how does the people with the video games, while we ask them to play the video games and while doing the study, and we do the functional MRI on them. And I show you another. This is the general video clips when we show the study sample. The brain, as you can see, the activation is not so much. But when you are playing video games of the MMORPG series, then you can see there is more activations in these areas of brain. These areas of brains that show in these pictures are the temporal, frontal, and parietal lobe, basically almost all, and it is involved in cognitive functions. It means it involves the attentions, the working memory, the visual spatials, the executive control, and informations processed compared to the general video games. And you would say, oh, there's more activations means it's better, it means you are increasing use of this area. But actually, this is showing that the activations of this area actually impact the functions, the cognitive functions, because there are too much stimulations in this brain. They can't slow down. They don't have enough rest for retrieval, memory retrieval, and also the processing functions. Okay, this is another study showing that the brain's rostral anterior cingulate cortex is less the blue ones means is less changes in the MRI signals, means they have less response to the stimulants when they are exposed to high violence games experience compared to the low violence game experience. So for those people who are exposed to high violence game experience, they have less stimulations of this anterior cingulate cortex. When you have low stimulations of this area of brain, actually you can feel that they have less control of their emotion. They have more problems of the emotional regulations. So this is another effects of it. So this is another local studies about what are the prevalence of smart media addictions. This study was done among the primary school secondary school students. Again, it's in Klang Valley. So the prevalence is as high as 49.2%. Almost half of the respondents actually was found to be high risk of smart media addictions. And 1/5 of them, about 21.6%, have high likelihood of depressions, and 65% have some levels of anxiety symptoms. Although we cannot say that screen time addiction or smart media addictions causing this depression or anxiety, but there are some associations with it. We don't know which is the eggs or which is the chicken. It probably is because they are depressed, they are anxious, that's why they resort to the internet use, but it can also be the other way around. So we don't know which is which. But we can find that there's associations. It can, the more you use the screen time, the more you can get depression and anxiety, or either way, because they have depression, because they have anxiety, that's why they resort to internet use, and then they become addicted and dependent on it. So this is my study again from the young adults among the public university students. This is about what is the predictors for depression, anxiety, stress, and suicidality among the young adults. And we found that there is a significant associations between the internet K-scale scores, means internet addiction score. The higher is the internet addiction score, the more significant is the depression, anxiety, stress, and suicidality. So another problem is the screen time and the attention. When you have too much of screen time, it can affect your attention. This is because of the constant point and click scanning behavior that associated with the screen. It's either you use the mouse to click on it, or you tap on the phone, or tap on the tablets. All of this link with significant attention problem in children, because it makes they are so used to things going so fast, click scanning and point, and you just click on things, then things will pop up. So it will make them easily bored with things that do not pop, beep, give you sound, or scroll. It doesn't move, just like classroom environment. It doesn't give you all this, the fast popping, beeping, and scrolling. So they will feel easily bored about it. And screen addictions will cause less efficiency in information processing and reduce impulse inhibitions and have poor task performance. And with repeated use of smart media, studies supported that children are more likely to have aversions to delay rewards, and they prefer rapid response, immediate reward, and multiple windows with different activities, means multitasking. And this creates problems with focusing on single tasks, such as reading books, which are linear and more of line by line and page by page kind of thing. So another thing, this phenomenon, we have a special name for it. We call it we name it the popcorn brains, because the worry is that life online is giving us what the researchers, David Levy, call it, because the brain is so accustomed to the constant stimulations of electronic multitasking that they are unfit for the real life anymore. So the things, because in real life, the things are popping at much slower pace. So social issues is mainly about safety. How many of the children are actually ready for online usings of the social medias and also games, online gaming nowadays. For example, nowadays, even as young as 5 to 6, I have seen children of age of 5 to 6 years old. The parents actually allow them to play Roblox, allow them to play Among Us. These are the games that you have. You have to form teams online with the strangers without guidance, without accompaniments, and then the children can just play these games all by themselves. And when I ask them, do you use your real identity? They say, yeah, I'm using my real identity. They are friends, they don't know me, I can use anything I like. But they have so little knowledge on the privacy, they have so little knowledge about protecting themselves online. So they are exposed to all this risks of cyberbullying, the shaming, the trolling. When these things happen, they don't know how to handle it. So we have to make sure that the children are okay, having all this knowledge to protect themselves online. Sorry, because of time constraints, I will go a little bit faster from now on. So another problem is digital isolated syndrome. They are so used to the things online. They are communicating online, communicating by text. They are not seeing each other. They tend to isolate themselves. They can't socialize in real life anymore. So by AAP, how do we use it wisely? They will recommend the parental involvement. For example, parents have to co-view or co-play, and co-engaging is the best way to guide them, so that you also can ensure safety for the children online. Have to have a balance. We can't do completely without the technology, especially during this pandemic, but at least we have some device-free times and have device-free meals, especially like for your dinner meals or lunch meals, so that, and make sure they have adequate physical exercise. Sleep is a very important problem. We have to have enough sleeps and be educated consumer. So you can use a lot of other apps to help to screen all the appropriate contents for them. So this one of it is Common Sense. And so measures also to reduce blue light. We have glasses and all that. So you can explore all these functions on your phone, so that you can use the warm light, the night shift, the glasses to reduce all the blue light exposure, so that they can sleep better. So because of time, I think we will leave the rest to the so we will leave it to allow for the question and answer sessions. We will deal more with what are the things that we can do about blue lights, or when to seek help, and also what are the things we can use to improve, to minimize the cons and maximize the use of screen time for children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sim. Thank you very much. I did request Dr. Sim to share with us as much as possible from children to adult. And of course, yeah, thank you for trying to put all that in. And indeed, we will come back to some of the others nuggets that she will be able to share during a Q&A. Thank you, Dr. Sim. And now I would like to invite our second speaker. Thank you for keeping time too, Dr. Sim. We have Prakash as Prakash Ravindan to share with us the next topic. Now, when I was researching this, my trivia research found that actually people use phone to provide mental health support as early as 1960s. So a lot of this research, of course, is based on what is available from the Americas. And through to 1996, the US Congress then passed the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act. You often hear this word HIPAA. That's what it's about in 1996. And by 1997, there was already the International Society of Mental Health online that was there to promote online and mental health treatments and online therapy. So during the 2000s, online therapy gradually, year 2000s, online therapy gradually became more popular and widespread, especially in the developed nations. And the COVID pandemic physically distancing protocols created opportunities and challenges for telepractice or teletherapy to kick off with an accelerated trajectory for us in Malaysia and many nations. OP Connect, our own teletherapy platform, was birthed this April. Tonight, Prakash, our clinical psychologist, will present his topic, Teletherapy Debunking the Myth, from our own practice and his experience of working with Teletherapy. A little bit about Prakash. He has a graduate as a clinical psychologist from and Masters of Clinical Psychology from Help University. Prakash is well versed with the diagnostic tools needed in assessing, reporting, diagnosing, and he does a lot of treatment of individuals with developmental conditions of ASD, ADD, and other learning issues. He has been leading Oasis Place social thinking sessions across the age groups, and this starts from, I think, 5, and he is about to launch into the late teens one as well. And he conducts for us trainings, workshop, has been guest speakers on radio stations like BFM, together with Dr. Ranjini. She's also on the Zoom. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Ranjini. Prakash is a registered member of the Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology. So please welcome Prakash for Teletherapy Debunking the Myths.
Thank you, Dr. Choi, for the introduction. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share the slides. Okay. So as Dr. Choi mentioned, my topic for today is teletherapy, debunking the myths. And yeah, I'm going to be going through with you guys a bit of background about what teletherapy is, some of the different services, and also going through some of the opportunities and limitations that come with teletherapy as well. So Dr. Choi has already introduced Oasis Place earlier, but just to highlight again that we are a multidisciplinary team. We have the psychology team, we have the occupational therapist team, speech and language pathologist as well, and as well as a music therapist. And we try to work together in this collaborative method to ensure that the clients get the best care that they can get. Before I dive into my presentation, we're just going to do a quick poll just to get some opinions on what your opinions on teletherapy. So we're going to go through Slido. If you're familiar with Slido, you can go to slido.com and enter in the number, or the link to the Slido poll will be pasted in the chat box, either in your Zoom or if you're on Facebook, you should be able to get it there. I will wait. So the first question in our poll is, teletherapy is not as effective as in-person therapy. Yeah. So again, there's no right or wrong answer here. Tell us your opinions. We want to know what you think. So we got answers coming in. 70% say agree that they think that teletherapy is not as effective as in-person therapy. Some of you disagree. I'll just give it a bit more time to let everybody get into the poll. So a lot of majority, I guess, of people think that most likely teletherapy is not as effective as in-person therapy. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next question. If you were to use teletherapy, which age group do you think is suitable for teletherapy? And you can pick more than one option here. Below 7 years old, 7 to 12-year-olds, 13 to 17 years old, 18 and above. You can pick all of the above as well. So we've got a mixed bag of responses. The majority still is the 18 and above. So most people think that probably 18 above. 13 and 17-year-olds and above. And the least, I guess, the least one is below 7 years old. Yeah. So for the younger ones, they think that probably teletherapy may not be such a suitable option for them. Okay. Next question. Teletherapy adds unnecessary screen time to a child's life. You agree or disagree? So Dr. Sim earlier mentioned about screen time. Yeah. And especially in this day and age, screen time for children has increased exponentially. Okay, a majority of people disagree with this statement, so they think that it doesn't add unnecessary screen time to a child's life. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move to the next question. So in therapy, we always talk about the relationship that you build between the therapist and the client. Do you think it's more difficult to establish this relationship via teletherapy? Oh, so even agree and disagree. Okay, so a lot of currently the majority of you guys think that probably it is more difficult to establish this relationship when you're going through teletherapy. Okay. Okay, we have one last question in our poll. There's still answers coming in, but yeah, majority still is on the agree. One last question in the poll. What do you think are the top 3 challenges with teletherapy? So pick 3 of these here, which are some of the challenges that are commonly associated with teletherapy. What do you think are the top 3? So a big one that is there is obviously technology, internet connection, devices. Another big one is engagement. Yeah. So technology and engagement, I wanted to talk to limited nonverbal communication or communication. And some individuals mentioned, some of you have put in about therapy materials or tools, Zoom fatigue. But yeah, engagement seems to be the one that's one of the highest challenges based on what you guys think, followed by technology and also limited non-verbal communication. Okay, so basically, I'm going to end the poll now and go back to my presentation. So basically, I wanted to get to do this poll just as a rough guide of to see where everybody's opinions are about teletherapy. So again, my agenda for today. So looking at the poll just now, I think everybody has opinion about teletherapy. Some of you agree with it. Some of you think it's more effective than in-person therapy. Some of you think it's not as effective. And we're going to try to delve into it a little bit and see and find out a little bit more about teletherapy. So I'm going to start off with defining teletherapy and go into some of the different types of teletherapy that is used and something that we use here as well at Oasis Place. And I'll highlight the opportunities and limitations of teletherapy. And lastly, I'll conclude with going through some of the steps to optimizing the effectiveness of teletherapy. So what is teletherapy? In a broad sense, it's the application of evaluative, consultative, preventative, and therapeutic services delivered through telecommunication and information technologies. Yeah, so licensed therapists will use traditional therapy techniques and activities and enhance those techniques through innovative software and tools. Like Dr. Choi mentioned just now, she highlighted the fact that actually teletherapy has been around for a long time. It might not be something that we are very familiar with in our part of the world, but in the Western side or in Americas, it has been used for some time now, and people are getting more and more comfortable with this. Essentially, teletherapy enables you to get access to therapy anywhere that you are. Types of teletherapy. So some people think, when we talk about teletherapy, it might be more specific to the psychology services, but actually it is available all throughout the different services as well. So teletherapy can be offered through psychology services. Speech therapy can also be offered through teletherapy, occupational therapy as well, music therapy, and even something that we have done here as well is assessment. So the assessment photo there is actually a photo of me conducting a psychoeducational assessment via Zoom with one of our clients. So just to highlight that there are many available services now online, and if there is an issue of getting services nearby, there are options available as well. And sometimes there are concerns as well in relation to like, hey, speech therapy, how is that done online? Or occupational therapy where they might need movement, or music therapy, you need musical instruments. How do you conduct that through the online platform or the Zoom platform if you were using Zoom? And I'm going to go into that a little bit when I move on into talking about the opportunities and limitations. So a big question that people ask is teletherapy evidence-based? Yeah. So we mentioned just now that teletherapy has been around for a long time, and a lot of research actually has been done. So in terms of the psychology services, psychiatry research has shown that using telemedicine or teletherapy can be effective and increase access to care. It's found that telepsychology delivered via video and phone is effective for depression, anxiety, adjustment disorders, as well as for substance use, eating disorders, and other problems in children and adolescents. There's also been research done in the areas of occupational therapy as well, where their research showed that telehealth offers many positive qualities, including improved care access to specialists, improved timing for care, reduced travel, and increased coordination of care and communication. And for the speech therapy as well, the research showed that students receiving services via telehealth The benefits include improved planning and delivery, increased individualized instruction, and even increased learning. So, opportunities versus limitations of teletherapy. So basically what I want to highlight here is that where there is an opportunity, there are some limitations that might come into it as well. So one big one, obviously, that has been highlighted is how accessible and convenient teletherapy is. We highlighted just now that basically you can have therapy anywhere. However, on the flip side, a concern there, a big limitation is technology. Yeah, so a lot of you highlighted technology as one of the top 3 challenges that you associate with teletherapy. And here when we talk about technology, we talk about internet connection, accessible to the appropriate devices. So all these are important in the delivery of teletherapy. Besides that, the environment. So the environment, the opportunity there is that the environment, being in your home environment, might give you a sense of privacy, right? So you don't have to go to a center where you might bump into other people. There is reduced stigma when it comes to that, especially when it comes to mental health. And if you're in your own home, if you're using your own room, there is familiarity and there's comfort there, right? So you feel safe in your space. But on the other hand, the environment at home can be very distracting as well, right? So there are other people in the house. There might be siblings, there might be parents, there might be dogs, pets, cats, and people making noise. So with the environment can also make teletherapy or disturb teletherapy. Another opportunity versus limitations here is that in this year, because of the pandemic, everybody is very familiar with going online, right? So whether it's doing school online, to meetings online, everybody is highly familiar with doing things online. So they might be more open to exploring teletherapy. However, the limitation that's associated with that is there is more competition with virtual learning. Yeah, a big term that people use now is Zoom fatigue, right? So you get burnout because you're on the device for too long and you're in meetings and different things in different channels. So there's a high competition there as well. I think I want to highlight as well that our movement into the teletherapy space has been accelerated quite a lot because of the pandemic, which goes hand in hand with everybody going to school online as well. So it's been quite a concurrent thing, and that's where the competition with virtual learning comes in. Zoom fatigue can come in as well. Next thing there is parental expectations. So parental expectations here, when it comes to teletherapy, some parents might expect it to look a certain way. If they are familiar with in-person therapy, the transition to doing therapy online is a bit of a shift. Yeah, so essentially we might be working on the same things, we might be tackling the same skills, but it will look a little bit different. So can parents shift their expectations? Yeah, and on one hand, sometimes parents might assume that, if they're going to be online and zooming in or doing teletherapy, they don't have to be involved so much, right? So they don't have to do the transportation. They can just make sure that the child has their device and logs in and set up, and they're done. But actually, sometimes parental involvement is increased when we need to use teletherapy, because sometimes you might need the parents to help them to set up different things in the environment. If you want to do a movement activity, that might be required as well. So parental expectations comes into play as well. Communication. So this was one of the challenges that was highlighted as well. We talked about nonverbal communication. So there's an opportunity where we've highlighted just now that the environment can be a safety feature. So for some individuals, they feel more safe and they feel more comfortable via teletherapy because they're in a safe environment. This sometimes can enhance their ability to open up. They might feel more safe, they might feel more comfortable sharing information and participating. So on one hand, there is that possibility, but again, on the other hand, Sometimes you might miss out some non-verbal cues with the communication. Probably what needs to be done is you need to pay more attention to the tone of their voice, the tempo of their words. These are probably things that might come into play in terms of communication. Besides that, something else that comes that is an opportunity as well is therapy materials or tools. So when individuals come to the center for therapy, they come to a place where it's equipped with tools, right? So whichever therapy you're coming for, the therapist has their tools prepared and ready. However, in teletherapy, or if you're doing therapy from the home, you might not have such materials available, such as we have that diagram there of swings, right? So in the occupational therapy room, we have swings that helps to that can help with movement for the client, right? But at home, you might not have a swing. So sometimes parents might feel like, hey, we're not able to recreate this at home. However, on the flip side, it also gives parents an opportunity to see what they can do at home to mimic this, for example, the swing. Because again, the home environment is where the child is in most of the time. They might not have access to other kind of materials or other kind of tools during the rest of the week when they're not in therapy. So it again gives opportunities to that. Besides that as well, there is many resources now available online, therapy materials available, and tools that have been produced for the use of teletherapy. So to wrap that up, again, like I mentioned just now, there are many opportunities, and there are limitations as well. But I think we want to highlight that the benefits of teletherapy are clear. First of all, research has shown that it is effective. Yeah, so as long as it's implemented in the right way, the therapist is prepared and trained, it can be effective. There's no travel time or waiting list, so it increases your accessibility to therapy. It can be very easy. Yeah, so I guess after the first time of setting up and getting used to it, usually you get a bit more comfortable. And we talked about being familiar in 2020. So now everybody is very used to being online for meetings or school anyway. So it's easy, and of course it's very convenient, right? So it's available easily. So my last part here, I'm going to talk about optimizing the effectiveness of teletherapy. So from a therapist perspective or a therapist point of view, something that needs to be taught about is the expectations, and this is to all parties involved. Yeah, so with teletherapy, first of all, the therapist also has to adjust their own expectations of how the therapy might look like, because again, it will be different from in-person therapy. So besides therapists, the parents as well need to adjust the expectations. Expectations of clients might be different as well, right? So how teletherapy looks like, and how can you adjust the expectations is by trying to be more aware of it, right? So getting parents educated on how teletherapy might look like. Something that we do in our practice is we offer parents a trial session, so they get an idea of how teletherapy looks like, how it will be conducted, and they can get a gauge of how their child might react to it. Yeah. So that is one way of trying to optimize the effectiveness of teletherapy. So managing expectations, and of course the next one is being flexible, or flexibility. I think something that we have learned, or personally myself, I have learned that I actually don't have to be a technology expert to do teletherapy. It's something that I've managed to learn along the way. And to be honest, in some sessions, even the younger ones were teaching me some of the tech as I did teletherapy. So being flexible with that, and again, trying to make use of the environment that is there. How can you get the child to move even when you're not with them? What movement activities can you do? Do you want to consider shorter sessions if it's harder for the child to sit for a long time in front of the screen? And also being flexible in your planning of activities, right? So coming up with more activities that in case one fails, you can try another one. So being flexible with that. Preparation, yeah. So obviously having an action plan. So when you go into therapy, you want to be able to know what you want to do and how you are going to achieve it. And having that action plan, we want to make sure that take into consideration the fact that the client will be in another setting. They're not right in front of us. It's not as easy for us to engage the client. I think a lot of you highlighted that engagement was one of the concerns. So how do you prepare your activities and how do you plan the session to make sure it is engaging for the client? Preparation. And the last but not least is reflection. So reflection here is, again, I guess, after the session, right? So what went well, what did not work, what can you do different next time? How ready are you as a therapist, or how ready is your client to do teletherapy? So these are all part of the process as well, to see whether to how can you make the teletherapy session more effective. So these 4 pillars over here, I think why I wanted to highlight these 4 things is that very honestly, these 4 things are actually important for us even when we talk about in-person therapy. Yeah. So these are steps that the therapists, if they were having an in-person session, these are things that they also have to be aware of, and they also have to take into consideration, right? So if a client is coming into the center as well, you also have to manage expectations. You have to manage parents' expectations of how the therapy session might look like. Clients have to be prepared as well of what the session will entail. Being flexible, we said just now that in teletherapy, we might need to have shorter sessions, or we need to plan different activities, but that is also the same in person, right? So in person, we have to be flexible to change our plans and to be able to change activities if the child doesn't respond or the client doesn't respond to a certain one. And this again goes hand in hand with preparation, where we always, as a therapist, we always go into a session having a plan, knowing what we want to do and how we want to achieve it, and also a backup plan, right, in case the plan A does not work. And last but not least, obviously, reflection is a big part of the work that we do, regardless. So I think the highlight here, the key takeaway is that the process for us looks the same as the therapist. The things that we need to think about and consider might be slightly different, taking into consideration the limitations that we might have shared that I walked through just now. But again, us preparing ourselves and getting ourselves ready for teletherapy, we still go by these 4 pillars as well. Yeah. So all in all, I think I want to highlight again the key about teletherapy, that it's something that we at Oasis Place have been doing. We have been using it with the launch of Oasis Place Connect. We have done therapy sessions. We have done screening online, and we've also done assessments as well. And all these have shown us that there is potential for teletherapy to work just as well as in-person therapy. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really enjoyed that, the whole idea that teletherapy, really, the digital platform is really a tool. I'm not sure if some of you are young enough, but I recall the Y2K problem, when at the turn of the century, there was a big preparation of the whole computer systems, the millennium bug. Perhaps teletherapy or telemedicine is just currently going through that shift. Thank you again, Prakash, for that informative session for me too. As I hear you, I recount again how the team put their 2 feet in to find a safe platform, if you like, to assure not only our clients and their parents, but really to assure ourselves as clinicians that doing this unknown new way of delivering is a delivery a method of our teletherapy I want to take this chance to thank my team again, also to thank our clients, the parents, the educators who has believed in us as we were learning fast and continue to learn fast towards that. Okay, we are now into our question and answer time. I would like to invite Dr. Sim back onto this session with us. And it would be really, I'd like to invite whether you are on the Facebook commentary or on our Zoom chat box to please type in your questions. So I have a question from Dr. Rajini. Here's Dr. Sim. Okay, Dr. Rajini's question to Dr. Sim. In your clinical practice, have you given parents suggestions of apps they can use to control screen time, and how successful has that been?
Apps. Do you mind if I share a screen from here? Is that right?
Please do. I think you have that precious resource. Yeah.
So let's look at. Can you all see my screen now?
Just give it a moment, Dr. Sim.
Yeah, sure. Actually, to answer Dr. Rajini's questions, we do have a few inbuilt apps from like, for example, if you're using Apple's products, they usually have this downtime and app limits functions. But of course, this is for younger children, like those 3 to 5 years old, even 5. I think probably 5. Anything above 4 years old, they can actually bypass the apps control quite easily. There has this functions called downtime. It means if you set the downtime, it will have they will not shut off. They will put the phone to sleep. For example, you put it from the 12 midnight to 6 a.m. in the morning. So this time only emergency calls are allowed. All other apps will be sleeping, and you couldn't reactivate it. And the app limits is almost like downtime, but you can specifically select the applications for you to set daily limits. For example, you only allow, let's say, they actually categorize the apps into either entertainment purposes or for educational purposes. So for entertainment purposes, you can actually use it for, let's say, 1 hour. So you can put it. But then the downside of it is actually down there when it's the times is up. They will have if you want to still use it, when you tap on the app, there will be a dialog box that pop up and say whether you want to bypass it, allow for 1 minute, but with the passcodes. If let's say the child know the passcode, then they will bypass it. So the parents will have to set the passcode that the children do not know, so that they won't bypass it. Another thing is if the child is having the gadgets all by themselves, then they have to ask the permissions from the parents' gadgets. So they have this kind of app. How effective is it? It depends on how strict, how firm the parents. A lot of parents they give in. Many parents they just give in because children showing tantrums, they couldn't wait. So we have to do a lot of education to create awareness in the parents. If they are firm with it, sometimes it works quite well. But I don't have actual data of how effective is it. But so far, when I ask them to use this app, they usually still give in.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So I think for the younger ones, I guess that kind of app and things like that is quite important. But we've had actually, I just ran a group for teenagers. So we had about 14 to 16-year-old and one of the topics that I did was internet addiction and screen time. And quite a powerful thing was what Dr. Sim mentioned just now. Actually, on the iPhones, you have a natural thing where you can check your screen time. So for those who have Androids, you can get an app. And what we did was we got them to check it. And it was quite interesting, their responses, to actually see how many hours they spent on their phone. It was quite a jaw-dropping moment for at least one or two of them to see, oh my goodness, I spent 9 hours on my phone in a day. And so for that, we educated them about it, and we did a system where, why not once a week you check it in to see whether there is reduced. And they came in the next week and say, hey, my usage of screen time reduced this week. So I think that for the older ones, getting them involved in that and getting them educated can be quite powerful. I witnessed it firsthand. Again, I did not know how were they going to react, but I think they did take it on quite well.
Yeah, I have experience with that. Most of the teenagers, but the problem with that is they don't only own one gadget per person. They have a few gadgets. Sometimes when they bring one gadget and then they show, hey, I only have 3 hours, doctors, I only have 3 hours. But then when I ask further, do you have any other gadgets? Do you still have TV at home? All these are not taken into account. So that is still something that we have to bear in mind. Yeah.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Thank you for that sharing, and I would also want to jump in as a parent. I have 2 young twins, not twins, but TWEENS. So with them being 11 and 14, the discussion with Papa was whether we should have this control mechanism or our preference really was to engage the children in conversation about digital time, digital awareness, actually, quite intentionally. And it has actually worked for us thus far. I'm crossing my fingers, in that it is very hard to keep the prescribed time. But what I found is when we have given them the information about risks, it gives us the permission to go and alert that, hey, it's over 2 hours today. And these are the, as opposed to having a constant battle. So it's very hard to be parents nowadays. How to manage our children, to empower them or to confine them. Yeah, so I think the different family values, different family cultures will also come into that. If I may just pop on to the second question. Dr. Sim, just to carry on about age, there's a question here about screen time guidelines. You showed it up to 5 years old earlier. Is there any guidelines on kids above 5 and adults? And you did show your results when you did your research in the university, how most individuals were really beyond 8 hours. And so, is there any recommended guidelines for older age groups?
Yeah. Actually, there is guidelines up to, I think, 12, not more than 2 hours a day. But I think in nowadays, especially during this pandemic, the hours is not important. What I think is whether, because some of the online classes in school, they easily go more than 2 hours a day. So if you say a screen time with the 2 hours, you have to minus this off, and then or entertainment another 2 hours. And then what about assignment? So I don't think hours is a problem, but it's more of the quality of the online contents that you access to, and whether all these online activities has affect the social and also the occupational functions of the individual involved. A lot of, as I said in the beginning, a lot of parents come to us and ask, how many hours should I allow him to go online? But that's not the questions. Whether this online behavior has caused any impacts on the daily life. If let's say they are so immersed into the online activities and they neglect the self-care kind of behavior, they neglect, they play games so much that they don't do their homework, they play games so much that they refuse to go out to socialize, then only we will say, oh, this has come to a problem, we have to do something about it. Or if let's say the individual involved, be the children or grown up, they are still maintaining their functions, they are disciplined, they are able to prioritize their daily activities, then I don't think that is a problem anyway. So the duration is not so much a problem nowadays. Yeah. It's
That's a
more of
very
the
good,
content.
that's a
Yeah.
very good reminder. That's a very good
Mm.
reminder. Um, if I can move on to the next question, it's actually it's from Dr. Rajini. She says, "Thanks, Prakash, for that presentation. Our biggest challenge is trying to convince parents that it works and empowering them. Can I ask if there were any new families who joined your teletherapy sessions during this MCO, CMCO, RNCO period? Or did you have new families starting as well?"
Okay, thank you for the question, Dr. Rajini. I think when it came to the lockdown, what we did try to do, and we were successful with quite a number, was trying to transition our clients who were already in our part of our clients to come online instead and to try it out. Like you said, it is quite a challenge to convince them. So we that's why I think something we implemented was the trial session. So we gave them, hey, let's try it out for half an hour, see how it works, and then you guys can also be the judge of that. So that kind of got them a bit more comfortable with the idea. And to be fair, we do have even clients now, even though now that we are open up and the lockdowns have eased. So we do have clients that are still remaining online because I think it's probably more convenient for them and they realize that, hey, it works as well. So we do have clients that are still online now, even though we have opened up again. Also, something I think that we have done in relation to our assessments, that we try to do almost all our report review sessions or feedback sessions via Zoom. So that also gives them an exposure to using it as a tool. And so far, the feedback has been good as well using that.
Thank you, Prakash. I also want to add to that, as a parent, I totally enjoyed the reduction in logistic and car management of going to some of my own children's tuition, and they are now doing music online sessions and so forth. So that it really does give parental time-saving benefits. One of the efficient benefits of online learning. I would just like to pull up another question, and this is for Dr. Sim. Dr. Sim, could you share with us what would be any assessments or that are used for screen time addiction? Are there some formalized tools that is used in the clinic?
Okay.
And following that is when would when is the time to refer on the client for help?
Yeah. Usually, the children's are brought in by the parents. We usually by clinical, as I said. So we will assess, other than the screen time, we depends on how much they use and how they have affected their daily life. Then on top of that, we will also assess with the associated issues. This is in my clinical practice. We will definitely have to rule out any other issues like depression, anxiety, or suicidality that stress, that kind of comorbids, because it's really often associated. And another, of course, more important thing is like ADHD or autisms and all that. Also, if there's any cues, also we will try to assess that. But in terms of formal tools, then we will see that there are a number of tools that is already validated in Malaysia. I try to share the screen again and see whether this time we can do it.
That will be good.
Yeah, right. Okay. And
There we go.
yeah, okay. You can see some of the slides here. So we do have one slide on screening tools per se. Sorry, yeah. So, yeah. So as I said, we will assess whether there is any impairments of this in terms of social and occupational function, regardless of the hours of use. But in terms of tools for internet addictions, the most commonly used is IAT, Internet Addiction Test. It was first created by Kimberly Young, who come up with the terms of internet addictions. The MVIAT is a Malay version of IAT, which is translated locally and also validated here. K scale is actually from Korea. It's also a modified versions of IAT, but with shorter versions. And K scale is the scale that I use in my study, but it's also we already validated it as well. And for smartphone addictions, they have a different scales. It's also modified from IAT. Actually, most of them come from IAT, it's just in modified versions, SAS and S scale as well. But looking at gaming disorder is more appropriate because if you look at ICD-11 or the DSM-5, they don't have any specific disease terms on internet addiction or smartphone addiction. But the gaming disorder is something they have more research on it. So we have this online gaming motivation skills, but another thing is ICD-11 is also coming soon. In fact, we have Malaysia is one of the countries that collaborated with WHO. Our founders of Malaysia Society of Internet Addiction, Dr. Noor Halina Bahar, she's one of the members and coming out with the ICD-11 versions. And we have tried to do the beta field testing in Malaysia. We have the data, but we cannot share now because we haven't got the permissions from WHO yet. So it's coming soon. Give us some time because of the pandemic. There's a lot of delay. But once it's verified, then we will share how about online gaming disorders criteria in ICD-11. Another thing is online pornography. You can use the internet sex texting skill. So these are the tools that you can use if you want a very objective assessment of that. For me, I usually still stick to clinical assessment. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sim. It's good to know that there are already evidence-based tools used in Malaysia, and do alert us when the WHO tool is going to be released. Just following on from that about intervention and treatment, where would we be referring on potential clients who do need help with the different screen time addiction, and what does it actually look like? Could you just share a little bit with us?
Yeah. If for those children that are suspected to have screen time addictions, and you can refer to child psychiatrists or any general psychiatrists or even pediatricians. Some of them who are well trained, they have been trained in this area. They also can handle. In case they have any, they will still refer you to further help. And if we need if you think clinical assessments are not enough, we usually would refer psychologists for assessment as well. Yeah, so that's how we go about it. In terms of management, it depends. There's no pharmacological treatments for this. It's usually more of behavioral therapy and all that. Pharmacological treatment is usually for the underlying diseases, comorbid diseases like if there's associating depression, anxiety, and or any other psychological issues. And of course, we also have to address the physical associated physical issues that we mentioned during the presentation just now. Yeah, this is mainly for that. For behavioral therapy, we have special CBT for internet addictions. Again, this is adapted from Korea because Korea, they have a lot of emphasis on internet addiction. In fact, they have a whole government agencies that address to these issues. So we have a lot of materials that is adopted from the Korean agency. So one of the CBT handbooks is coming out from that. So basically, CBT is nothing different from the behavioral modifications CBT in the general CBTs that we do every day. But it's just that this one is specifically addressed to changing the behavior of internet addiction.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
And we have a next question, and this is from Dr. Cindy, and it reads, thank you, Dr. Sim and Prakash. Regarding teletherapy for young kids with autism, how would you measure outcomes both with parent, coping abilities, as well as the child's outcome?
Thank you, Dr. Cindy, for the question. I think in regards to measuring the outcomes of teletherapy, especially with the young kids, it's a lot of collaborative effort with parents, especially when we're talking about the younger ones. And here we want to be able to see and support the parents in their environment, as well as to continue to walk with them during the journey, the therapeutic journey or the therapeutic process. Again, we set goals with the clients or with the parents at the start. Something that we use here is the IFSP family plan. And we work together with the parents once the goals have been set, and we do reviews along the way to see how the child or the client have been progressing as well. So I think that's one way that we can measure the outcomes and how the teletherapy has been working. And as well, working with the parents as well, how they have been coping with the therapy at the same time. Yeah, so it is quite a collaborative effort. I think just now when I mentioned in my presentation, parental involvement might come into play here, especially when it comes to teletherapy for younger kids.
Thank you. And this one is to either Dr. Sim or Prakash. Can you share any on-site any resources that you can recommend to further reference for both teletherapy or screen time addiction? Any useful resource?
Prakash, you want to go first about teletherapy?
Resource meaning, sorry, resource.
Google it. So any favorite resource that can help either a parent or a professional on board to teletherapy?
I see. Sorry, you were saying? Okay. Again, to be honest, I think there is a lot of materials out there available online in regards to teletherapy. I think maybe looking at the proper associations, so for example, if it is speech therapy specifically, there are guidelines by the speech therapy associations, not just US, but in Malaysia as well, and so forth in the different organizations based on the different disciplines. So they have many guidelines as well. So those could be a good starting point where you can get information.
Thank you. Dr. Sim, any
For
favorite?
my part, for period, basically, there is also a lot of resources. If let's say for professionals, there are a lot of resources online. You can read a lot of papers on screen time addictions and internet addictions. There's no particular favorites lah. Usually, our favorites probably most of it come from Korea counterparts because Korea, Taiwan, or China, they really did a lot of these are the countries that did a lot of researches on this area because they have a lot of emphasis on it, especially Korea, as I mentioned, because in fact they are the leading the leaders in when we start to collaborate, especially most of our resources come from there. Because they have a whole government agency that addresses the issue. So most of our materials come from there is one. This is for professionals use. In terms for parents, just now actually because of time constraint, I actually go through one thing. It's called Common Sense Media. Common Sense Media. If, sorry again, if I could share screen again, huh? So this Common Sense Media basically is the app that for you to screen through all the content and see whether it's age appropriate for our children. So it comes like this. Okay. Can I? Right, yeah. So it comes like this. For example, if we key in the Sesame Street and we see whether it's appropriate for our children to use it, they will have these comments like age 3+ and how many stars for it. And you could click further on it, then you will have this, they will tell you what the parents need to know about this particular program. For example, they will say what are the contents inside, whether it contains violences, whether what the language problems and all that. This is not just for TV shows, but also for most of the apps that's available in both Androids and Apples, the Google Play stores and most of the common stores that you can buy online. Unfortunately, this is from US. It's actually a non-profit resources for you to go through all the contents. We don't have a Malaysia versions or Asian versions. We do have our own local products that is not going into all this screening. But of course, we can come up with our own one, but that will need a little bit more time on that. Okay, so including all those online applications that will tell you what are the things, whether it's appropriate. Like for example, if you type, I didn't show it in the slide, maybe you can try it yourself. If you type it, it's like the common, nowadays the most common games that our teenagers and even the younger children plays are like Roblox or what do you call that, Among Us. Actually you would say the like Among Us is it's an online games that you have to team up with other online users, and then they can have a lot of hidden functions that we are not comfortable. Parents are not comfortable for the children, even for teenagers. They contain of violence. They contain and it's not safe. You can just freely communicate with the strangers and all that. So you can get all the before you go into the games or play it yourself, you can get some information from this website so that you have a rough idea of it. That's how it works. This is one of it. And of course, there are a lot of other for parents resources is that you can go MCMC in local context. You can go to MCMC. They will have this Klik Dengan Bijak program. It's like a community outreach program. They can even give talks in a school or community settings to help you to understand better how to use safely for children, use on the internet safely for children. So the overseas our foreign countries, that we have this called digital citizens digital citizenships program as well. So this is another ways of using it safely as well. So these are the resources lah.
Thank you so much. I just want to add one favorite of mine, and you can Google Ask the Mediatrician as opposed to the pediatrician. Actually, Dr. Michael Rich is a pediatrician, and I've been following that track. Ask the Mediatrician. Thank you very much for that. We have now actually come to the end of our scheduled time. I want to take the opportunity to thank first our audience for staying online with us and learning with us. And I would like to I'm reminded that if you could kindly help us with our feedback form, it will help us plan and improve on our next learning together. And once and for all, I would like to invite everybody to continue to learn about digital presence in our lives, which is not going to go away. Teletherapy will only go positive. I believe there are a lot of change of mindsets that needs to be there, but it will enable many of us to reach far corners which we have never been able to serve families. And as we reach more, the challenges and the nuances that comes with it, where our natural brain is taking time to readapt to the new invasion with high speed. We need to, in many ways, as parents, as clinicians, as educators, kind of go on our knees to do this. So we are just going to ask Prakash for a last tip, and Dr. Sim the same, and we will say good night. So can I invite a last tip, and we will say good night. Prakash?
I think in regards to teletherapy, again, for lots of people, it's something new and something that you might be unfamiliar with. But based on experience and based on what we have seen, it has its place, and it has been shown to be effective, and it does bring about a lot of benefits for families as well if they are willing to give it a try. So I think taking the first step of giving it a go and having a trial could be the way to go if any of the parents are hesitant or a bit afraid. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Prakash. Dr. Sim?
Yeah. In regards to screen time addictions, we will not say that we have to limit completely not to use the screen, or we have to limit the hours of the screens of children and all that. But we want to use the maximums out of it with the minimum cons. How to do with it is that as we emphasize a lot of time, we don't use technology to babysit the children, but we co-viewing the parental involvement. All this will help to maximize the use of it to the best. And of course, the parents must be aware of what are the contents, what are the children doing with the technology. Okay, I think that's all.
Thank you so much. And that really closes the evening. And I just want to share Dr. Michael Rich's quote. It says, the problem is not the technology, but what we do with it. Technology is powerful, neutral. Smartphones and internet are powerful tools. They can do great good when used mindfully, but can be harm when used without a thought. And our job is to master and to teach our children to master the 21st century power tool, so that we all become kinder, smarter, stronger, and kinder. So thank you all for your time. Thank you all for learning with us again. and we look forward to meeting not only next Unscrabble but along the year. In this season, we ask for a celebration of the new year. We are all overcomers through this pandemic, and we look forward to see you in person and to celebrate the new norm. Thank you and good night.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all.